Someone you love is gone. The body is there, but the person is not, and you have no idea what to do next. That feeling, that helpless, hollow, what do I do now feeling, is one of the oldest experiences in human existence. But what ancient humans actually did in that moment is stranger, more complex, and more deeply human than anything you've been told. It starts over 300,000 years ago, not with Homo sapiens, with our cousins. In a cave in South Africa called Rising Star, paleoanthropologist Lee Berger and his team discovered something that rewrote everything. Deep in an underground chamber, reachable only through a narrow passage barely wide enough for a human body, they found bones, dozens of them, belonging to a species called Homo naledi, a creature with a brain roughly a third the size of yours. A creature scientists once assumed was too primitive to feel, to grieve, to understand that something permanent had happened. But those bones were not scattered. They were placed, deliberately, repeatedly, in the dark. Your ancestors were mourning before your ancestors were you. That changes the question entirely. The question is not when humans started caring for their dead. The question is why. Why, across every culture, every continent, every era of human existence, when someone dies, something inside you insists that what happens to their body matters. Think about that for a second. The person is gone. The body is matter, atoms, carbon, and water, and mineral, and yet every civilization in recorded history has treated it as sacred. Why? Anthropologist Thomas LaCour spent years researching exactly this. His answer is uncomfortable. The body, he argues, is not just a container. It is identity made physical. When you look at a body, even a dead body, your brain does not see an object. It sees a person. The same neural circuits that light up when you look at a living face light up when you look at a dead one. You cannot turn it off. You are wired, at a neurological level, to treat the dead as present. That is not superstition. That is evolution. And evolution, it turns out, has a lot to say about death rituals. Go back further, to the Neanderthals. For decades, scientists debated whether Neanderthals buried their dead at all, or whether the bones found in shallow pits were just animals disturbing the earth. Then came Shanidar Cave in Iraq. In 1960, archaeologist Ralph Selecki uncovered a Neanderthal skeleton surrounded by clumps of pollen. Pollen from flowers that do not grow in that cave. Flowers that had to be carried there from somewhere else. Someone brought flowers to a grave 60,000 years ago. The debate over that pollen has never fully ended. But what came after it did change everything. More Neanderthal burial sites emerged. Bodies positioned on their sides, knees drawn up, ochre, a red pigment, rubbed onto the bones, objects placed nearby, and something even more striking. In one site, a Neanderthal with a withered arm, a missing eye, and bones showing severe arthritis, injuries that should have killed him years before they did. He survived for years with a body that could not have sustained him alone. Someone took care of him. Someone fed him. Someone kept him alive long after he was useful. Compassion is not a modern invention. Compassion is ancient. And death, the ritual of it, the acknowledgement of it, may be the place where compassion first became visible in the fossil record. But here is where it gets stranger. Because across human history, the rituals people developed were not about letting go. They were almost universally about maintaining a relationship with the dead, about keeping them close, about staying in contact. The ancient Egyptians preserved bodies for exactly this reason. The mummy was not a monument to mortality. It was a vessel, something the person's soul could return to. Embalming was not about honoring what was gone. It was about keeping a door open. The opening of the mouth ceremony performed at burial was not symbolic. To the Egyptians, it was literal. They believed they were restoring speech, restoring breath, restoring the ability to eat and drink in the afterlife. They were not saying goodbye. They were making arrangements. On the other side of the world, the Toraja people of Indonesia do something similar. But they do not stop at ceremony. They keep their dead at home, literally, for months, sometimes years. The body is treated as though it is ill, rather than dead. It is given food. It is spoken to. It is included in family life. The death is not declared, socially, until the family is ready, and the funeral rites are complete. Until then, the person is simply sick. A psychologist might call this denial. But grief researchers like George Bonanno at Columbia University have consistently found something unexpected. The people who cope best with loss are not always the ones who process it fastest. Resilience in grief is not about cutting the cord. It is about finding ways to carry the relationship forward, to redefine, rather than erase, the bond. The Toraja are not behind on grief. They may have understood it before the field of psychology existed. And then there is the practice your own culture still carries out, without realizing it. You speak about the dead in the present tense. You say, "She would have loved this." You say voicemails. You keep clothes. You talk to photographs. You visit graves not because anyone told you to, but because something in you needs to. Something in you resists the idea that the relationship ended the moment the breathing did. That impulse is ancient. It is documented across every culture humans have ever created. And according to anthropologist Barbara King, who spent years studying animal grief and loss, it is not uniquely human. Elephants return to the bones of their dead and touch them with their trunks. Chimpanzees carry dead infants for days. Crows hold what can only be described as gatherings around their dead. The instinct to mark death, to do something, is older than language, older than fire, older than the wheel. It is not culture. It is biology. And biology in this case is saying something important. When someone dies, your nervous system does not immediately accept the update. The person is gone, but your brain still has a pattern for them, a neural map. Every conversation, every habit, every expectation of their presence, those are still there, still firing, still reaching. What grief researchers call continuing bonds theory suggests that the work of mourning is not erasing that map. It is redrawing it, finding where the person now lives in your life when they can no longer live in the world. Every ritual humans have ever designed around death is an attempt to do exactly that. The funeral, the grave, the flowers, the food left at the altar, the candle lit on the anniversary, the name spoken out loud, to no one in particular. These are not relics of primitive superstition. They are technologies, ancient, human, biological technologies for keeping the relationship alive in the only place it can continue to exist, inside you. 300,000 years ago, someone carried a body into the dark, not because they were told to, not because there was a priest, or a law, or a tradition, but because something inside them could not do nothing, could not just walk away. Tonight, if you find yourself holding on to something that belonged to someone who is gone, a photograph, a voicemail, a piece of clothing, you are not stuck in grief. You are not failing to move on. You are doing exactly what your species has always done when the ones it loves disappear. You are carrying them into the dark, just like the beginning.